Welcome to another episode of the Coffee and Podcast. We are all about coffee excellence and cultivating freedom for victims of human trafficking. And today you're in for a special treat because we're doing an episode called a 3x3x3, where we have three people drinking three coffees in 3 minutes. I'm your host, Philip Clayman. I'm one of the co-founders of Three Tree Coffee in Statesboro, Georgia. And I love doing these episodes where we get to learn more about our coffee, but also get to meet people in our community. And I'm very excited to have Justin Peay on today. But before we introduce Justin and get to know him better, as always, I want to turn to our co-host, Michaela, and just say, Michaela, thank you for being on. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Sweet. So Michaela's going to be helping divvy up the coffee and helping us taste that. And then today we have Justin Peay on with Paros Films. That is Paros.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Not to be mistaken with the French city. But he owns Paros Films. He is a well-known videographer in the Statesboro area, and he goes all over to do videography. And so, Justin, super pumped to have you on the show today.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I have a wife named Emma and two kids, Theo and Clementine. Theo is 8 years old, and Clementine is 3. And like you said, mostly film weddings. I do a commercial every once in a while. But I've been doing film and weddings since 2012. And first my buddy John, he came up to me and was like, "Hey, you know a little bit about video. You think you could film my wedding?" And I was like, "Absolutely not." But he insisted. So filmed his wedding. It was a great experience. Probably, I think I filmed like 3 that year, and then I did 4 the next year.
Hey,
yeah,
growth,
dude. And then the next year, 6.
Oh, man.
But then as years progressed, started filming more weddings. And I was working at a church at the time. And I kind of came to this crossroad where I was like, all right, do I keep working at the church doing video work? Or, do I make the leap of full-time freelance? And so went full-time freelance in 2016 and, went through, and actually the year that I went full-time freelance, I actually did less weddings than the year before. So that was nerve-wracking. I was like, how am I going to live? And but then as each year went on, I grew in numbers of weddings, and then eventually grew in number of people that I brought on. At the time, I was just Justin Peay Productions up until COVID happened. And COVID kind of forced me to grow the company. I was just a one-man band at the time, and when COVID happened, I think 16 weddings got canceled in a day. It was like, what do I do now? And it was play video games for the next 3 months. So literally me and Emma played video games for 3 months straight until I was like, what are we going to do?
Did you record yourself playing video games?
I wasn't looking to make money or anything. I was just like, I want to beat up some people. So, I got fired from 16 weddings, and then they all came back and they're like, hey, we're still getting married, at the end of the year. And everybody kept booking their wedding on the same date as other brides and grooms. And I was like, I'm only one guy. Like, I can't film 3 weddings in a day, obviously. So I ended up taking one of my second shooters and being like, all right, baby bird, it's time for you to leave the nest. You got to film your own wedding. And he filmed his first wedding and he killed it, just knocked it out of the park. And that's when I was like, okay, well, it doesn't just have to be me, right? So that's when I started transition from Justin Peay Productions to Paros Films. Nice. And we did 150 weddings last year.
150 weddings.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So it was wild. And I only filmed 15 of them.
So I was going to ask, because I actually asked a similar question to Sean Fox, who was on an episode last month where we were talking about design. And I asked him, what percentage of time does he spend in his workday actually designing anything anymore? I'll tell you his answer in a minute. I want to know your answer. So
Yeah.
how much percentage of time do you spend actually doing videography or editing compared to the other aspects of running a business?
So I'll tell you the percentage that I want.
Okay.
And that's 100.
You wish you were doing all videography.
But it's actually more like 5.
Wow.
5 or 10%. You know, when I started to grow the company, I knew that I was going to transition into more of a leadership role rather than just like a doer. You know, I have producer blood in my body. I love to produce things. I love to create. But you know, as the company grew, it just kind of forced me into, you know, more of a managerial position, which is fine. You know, it's challenging for me. It's probably challenging for my associates because they're like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm like, I know. I just want to film and edit. But it's been really rewarding seeing the associates, like my editors and my videographers, grow. You know, just like I did, you know, starting out in 2012, to see them come so far in just, you know, a matter of months and just a couple of years. So that's been really rewarding. And knowing Sean, you know, he's probably the same way. You know, he probably wants to design all the time, but he's doing the managerial thing, just like I am.
And his answer was 0 to 5% of the time.
Yeah.
So very similar.
I know.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's really neat. So how many associates do you have now?
So we have 8 associates, 9 including me, and there's 3 of them in the Atlanta area, and then the rest are in the Statesboro area. But we're able to cover, obviously North Georgia, Southeast Georgia, but we go to like Charleston a good bit. I mean, I would say probably 70% of the weddings that we book are in Atlanta. The rest are Charleston, Savannah, and for whatever reason, Vermont.
Vermont.
Yeah, we go up there at least 4 times a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really pretty up there. All the weddings there, and I actually saw a map of what couples are spending, you know, based on their geography, where they're located. And the average is like 20 to 25,000 in most of the states. But for whatever reason, at least according to this chart, in Vermont, it's like $40,000 to $45,000 on a wedding. And like the few weddings that we've done up there per year are, you know, I mean, they're pushing like 6 digits. You know, they're big weddings, and you know, no pressure on us, but they look beautiful, and we've just built a really good network up there with some of the Vermontians.
Yeah, the Vermontians. I've talked with you a little bit. I've seen some of your posts as well. You've done some big weddings. You've done destination weddings. You've had lots of experiences all around the wedding. What is one of your greatest memories, whether it's a destination, a place you went, or just something crazy happened at a wedding? What's one of your favorite memories from videography?
So first of all, I have a running blooper reel. So being a videographer, you collect a lot of like incriminating footage, you know, stuff that like you can't release it, right? And so like if I ever wanted to get out of the video world, you know, the wedding video business, I would release this blooper reel that I have because nobody will ever hire me ever again. So we've seen a lot, we've filmed a lot, but I would say probably one of my favorite memories, and this is going to sound really odd, but my first Ireland wedding. So it was
your first Ireland.
Yeah. So I think I've been to Ireland about 6 times now filming weddings.
So Vermont and Ireland. It's just they're calling your name.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny, after COVID, the Ireland weddings kind of died down, obviously. But me and Emma were gonna elope over there, and we're going to elope in 2020. But then the world shut down, and we ended up eloping in our front yard. But so the first one was like in 2016 or 2015, and it was awesome wedding. It was at a place called Dromullen Castle, and you think like, oh, castle is you know, it's beautiful. It was. I mean, it was just absolutely stunning. You know, the wedding was great. Like obviously the venue was, and I mean, just went all out. I mean, I lost my butt on this wedding. I just charged for travel, and I was like, well, we'll just, fly over there, film. And I paid my second shooter his rate. I edited, for weeks, like weeks longer, because I was like, I just got to make this like amazing. And I delivered it to the bride, and she hated it. She absolutely hated it. And I was like, I was devastated. And because I just as an artist, like you just pour everything you have into your craft. And then when you don't get the reception that you're looking for, it's just, just crushing. And what's weird, I say that that's my favorite memory because it showed me that like, I'm not invincible, this was probably the first wedding that I got some real constructive feedback on. And it forced me to grow in my craft because, it didn't meet the bride's expectations. Granted, one of her notes was that she could see the crow's feet in her eyes in one of the shots. And I was like, I don't know what to do about that. But
you could Photoshop your eyes in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Just smoothed it, or just airbrushed it right there. So, it was a really cool and frustrating experience that kind of forced me to just get better at what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Every negative situation, every critique is an opportunity to grow and learn. Golly, I've had so many times where I fell on my face, and that's when I learned
absolutely
how to do the next thing.
Yeah, what is it? Calm seas don't make a skilled sailor or something like that. So, but I know nothing about boats, so I can't say anything.
Well, my next question was going to be about boats.
About boats, dang it.
But we'll hold that one off for another time, another episode. Awesome. So did you grow up in this area, in the Statesboro area?
So I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
Lived there for 10 years and then moved to Statesboro. So my dad's a Southern Baptist minister, took a job in Statesboro, and then stayed here. They stayed here until I think the day after I graduated high school. And then rather than the baby birds leaving the nest, the mom and papa bird moved the nest. They moved to Tennessee. And I stuck around. I was like, I made some friends here, and Statesboro is like a really cool town that, you can raise a family here. It's small, but also it's like an hour away from Savannah. So if you need to get like your things to do fix, like you can just go to Savannah. Yeah. But I really like it because, and especially with my job, like my job forces me to travel all over the place. And it's nice to have a home base to come back to that's small, people that I know, relaxing, and isn't Atlanta traffic.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Small town living, but big town events and opportunities not that far away.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. When my wife and I first moved here, Statesboro was even smaller at that point. You've been here longer than me, but I remember we would drive out to Savannah like every weekend. Yeah. It was super fun just to go out there and do exciting things.
Yeah, so. That's right.
And so then when it comes to videography, let me get this right. So like, did you have any formal training? Did you go to school for videography? How did you get into that? And did you have any formal training in it?
Yeah, great question. So YouTube University is where I went. And what's weird, so I've actually been filming, like working with video since 2005. So I started working with the Methodist Church here, and the youth pastor just gave me a camera. He said, "Hey, figure this out and make funny videos." And I was like, "Yes, I will do that." Oh man, y'all should see the early works of Justin Peay. It's cringy. I don't know why I'm not in jail either. So I started, just like looking up stuff online, like how people film, what cameras they were using, and then all of it just came through experience. I went to Georgia Southern, was studying exercise science, failed anatomy 4 times. And I was like, I might not need to be in this major. So I became a communication arts major and finally graduated 6 years later. So like communications, I guess like you could say that, that had, some teachings to help me be able to figure out video, but really, it was just like getting out there and filming. And that's what most videographers or filmmakers would tell you is like, the best way to improve your craft or figure out what your voice is or your style is just to do it repeatedly. Just go out, shoot, do it all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I guess my last question around this would be, there's kind of almost like this nature versus nurture component of, I feel like you have to have some sort of skill set to be able to get this. And I say that because I don't have it, right? Like,
what are you talking about?
This is
on a Sony ZF-1V.
Yeah, I love the Sony ZF. That camera is a good camera, but it's a stationary camera. I've never had that artistic view, at least for video, right? And there's maybe other things where I was able to express myself creatively, but do you just feel like you were a creative person naturally, or do you think it's much more structured for you and you really you taught yourself and you learned it and now you can do it well?
Dude, that's funny, man. I'm a daydreamer. Sorry, Dad, but I mostly daydreamed when my dad was preaching. So, like, I remember
all artists did.
Yeah, right. So, like, I'd be sitting in the pew, and I'd be like drawing, what my dream house is going to look like. I mean, it had like water slides in it, like monkey bars. This was when I was like, 8 years old. I still want monkey bars in my house now. But, like, I had these like just visuals like in my head, and I would always feel like I had a need to put it somewhere that I could see, whether it was drawing or, on video or photography. And the cool thing about weddings too is like, it's all set for you. You do like a commercial project, you've got to think about the pre-production, you've got to think about the talent, the script writing, all these elements that like, really, I'm not that good at. I'm good at setting a camera and maybe controlling the lighting a little bit, but all the pre-pro work, it's kind of outside of my wheelhouse. But for weddings, all that's done for you. The script is written, the talent is hired, and you show up on set at the wedding venue and everything looks beautiful and you hit record. It's like, what more could you ask for, honestly?
Yeah. That's neat. And so the last question with this, weddings can be pretty high stress. Do you still feel any of that stress? Or did you never feel that stress? Like, how do you're going into a wedding, do you still have a little bit of the jitters of this is the one moment or not?
Absolutely. I grew up a very anxious person, take a lot of medication for it. And I would always, the night before a wedding, I couldn't eat. I barely slept. When I get to the wedding, I'm like putting my rig together and I'm just like, my hands are shaking. And that's all a sign of that you care, right? If I were to walk or go to a wedding venue and I'm just like calm and cool about it, I feel like I wouldn't have that emotional investment into what I'm doing if I didn't feel a little nervous. So as debilitating as it can be sometimes, it's just a sign of, that you're doing something great and that you care about it.
Yep. That's awesome. Well, it is evident that you care. Your work is seriously amazing.
Thank you.
If you have not seen it, check it out. Paros Films, really, they do a phenomenal job. So appreciate you sharing a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. I love talking about myself.
Yeah. Maybe we can do it more after the film.
All right.
So we're going to now transition to our coffees. On each episode of a 3x3x3, we have a theme for our coffees and learn a little bit more about coffee. So all of our coffees for this episode come from Indonesia. Now, Indonesia is made up of thousands of islands in the Pacific. It's beautiful. Justin's been there before. We were talking about that before the filming. I've been there as well. Beautiful islands, beautiful people in tropical areas of the Pacific. And you get a lot of different types of coffees that come out of this area for this reason. And so you have coffees coming from the island of Sulawesi, Bali, Java, Sumatra. And actually, fun fact, the word Java and that being associated with coffee comes from the island of Java in Indonesia.
I was going to ask.
Yes, it does. And to even take it a step further, the word mocha comes from a port city in Yemen, where one of the places where coffee was originally drunk. And so a lot of these coffee terms actually just come from places where coffee is grown or drank, including Java, Indonesia. So we have some different coffees here. I'm going to introduce each one and maybe unpack a little bit more about these coffees as we go along. Normally, all of our coffees are roasted by different roasters, but we changed it up a little bit today. We only have one coffee from a different roaster. The other two are roasted by us, Three Tree. But boy, is this one a stunner. Stumptown, they are well known in the specialty coffee industry for really pioneering what's called third wave coffee. If you don't know what I mean by that, go check out one of our episodes. That's all about the different waves of coffee. It's called What is Specialty Coffee? We unpack what is first wave, second wave, and third wave coffee. But Stumptown was a huge pioneer of third wave coffee, and they do a great job. I've not had this coffee yet, but I know Stumptown's great. So this is an Indonesian coffee. It specifically comes from the Aceh Gayo region of Sumatra. It looks like it's an organic coffee, and doesn't say if it's washed or natural, but we're going to give it a try and see what we think.
It is a bourbon.
Oh, yes. So in terms of varietals, which we've talked a little bit about varietals, that's the type of coffee plant. We got a couple here, Bourbon, Típica, Caturra, and Catimor. So anyways, excited to try that one. Excited to see what Stumptown has to offer. The next coffee we're going to try is one that we roasted. We actually got it from an importer that we work with a lot called Balzac out of Charleston. Shout out to Balzac. They are awesome. They do a great job. And this one specifically comes from Sumatra as well, also from the Gayo region. This one tells us the processing method, and it says giling basah. Giling basah, which another word for that, or the English word for that, would be wet hold. So this is kind of a unique processing where it's partially dried in the cherry, but then all the cherry mucilage is removed, and then it's dried again in parchment. There's a lot to unpack there. Don't freak out. Long story short, this is a very unique style of processing just to Indonesia. They don't do this anywhere else, this wet hold process. So it's a very unique type of processing to get the bean out of the cherry into the roaster. The last thing worth mentioning is that this is a Robusta coffee. There are two species. Well, there's lots of species of coffee plants, but there's two main ones, Arabica and Robusta. Arabica is widely considered the better flavor, better species of coffee plant when it comes to flavor. But there's some good Robusta coffees, and there's a lot of people that think you need a really good Robusta in an espresso for espresso to taste good. We thought it'd be fun to throw this on the cupping table and just kind of compare and contrast Robusta with Arabica coffees.
Okay.
I did try it as espresso, and it was very good.
Ooh, all right, we have a recommendation already. And then the last one that I'm especially excited about, this is called Kopi Luwak coffee. Kopi in Indonesian means coffee, and luwak is referring to a certain type of cat called the civet cat. And this coffee was eaten by a cat off the plant, and then the cat pooped it out. And I'm very excited to have Justin on to try this coffee today.
How did I know? I was thinking, I was like, wait, are any of these been pooped on? Because I've heard about that.
It's called cat poop coffee. That's the casual term for it. The official term is Kopi Luwak. It is considered one of the most expensive cups of coffee in the world. We had to buy this at a very high price, unroasted, which is why we roasted it in-house. I've actually had a Kopi Luwak coffee before while in Indonesia. And so we're going to see, is it one of the best cups of coffee in the world? Does it stand up to the test? And why would the digestive system of a civet cat produce that kind of effect? For those that are concerned, this coffee, of course, at the farm level is washed, and then it is roasted over 400 degrees. There's going to be no side effects to eating this today in terms of it being, excreted and whatnot. Another thing worth mentioning, because this could be a concern to some people, is, and this is sad actually, there's a lot of people that are trying to mimic this process, and so they will actually cage animals, and it's like bad habitat environments for these animals. These were cage-free civet cats that naturally graze the coffee grounds. So I know that sounds silly. It kind of is a little silly, but at the same time, it's really important to know that this wasn't any sort of situation that's harmful to animals or people, right? That's a big part of our mission, is empowering farmers, making sure we're all about people. So I want to make sure you know that. So we have some really weird and wild coffees today, all from Indonesia. Justin, are you ready?
Yeah, I've eaten a tarantula. I've eaten the world's spiciest chocolate bar. So why not add cat poop coffee to it?
I actually watched you eat part of a tarantula, I think, one time at Divvy Desk.
Yep, that was it.
Yep. All right, awesome. Well, so here we go. We have our 3 coffees being set before us.
Are we okay doing it off spoons?
Yep.
Okay, we don't have the cups with us.
All right, awesome. Not a problem. So what we're going to do is we have coffees here. We're going to move this a little bit closer this way.
Oh, got it.
Yep. So we have coffee 1, coffee 2, coffee 3. So you're going to take your spoon, and what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little spoonful once we start the timer. We're going to sip it, and coffee slurping is actually like a really cool.
Okay.
You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, nice loud slurp helps. Oh, you've been practicing.
Yes, I have.
So anyways, slurp it up, taste it. Feel free to get a few tastes of coffee one and just share with us your thoughts. And we're going to share with you our thoughts as well. After 1 minute, we'll go on to coffee 2. After another minute, coffee 3, and then we'll vote for our favorite. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. Spoons at the ready. Go. Take a little bit there.
I don't want to taint my coffee.
That's right. And we actually do have this little cup in the middle of water. So as we go through them, we can cleanse it.
So put this in there?
As we go from coffee to coffee. So you can keep giving it a try right now.
This one actually has some nice fruitiness to it. Like some more juiciness to it. With a little bit of, I don't know.
So my palate is
dry bitterness, but
way off. It kind of tastes like a beef stew to me.
So it's a little savory to me.
Okay.
There's a little bit of fruits coming through, but there's some weird savory and almost a little papery. Now that sounds weird, but a little dry, a little cardboardy.
Yeah, like dry.
Oh yeah.
There's some dryness to it. Yeah. There's definitely some of that savoriness too.
Cool.
I don't know what I'm tasting for when it comes to Civet Cat Kopi Luwak. I don't think
I feel like we'll know when we taste it.
We'll know what it tastes. Okay, time's up for coffee 1. Let's rinse our spoons and move on to coffee 2.
Okay.
It's different.
Ooh, that's a
Oh, I see.
little bit edible. Maybe?
I taste
That's a little weird.
Tasting like cucumbers and asparagus.
yeah, see, I was tasting vegetables too.
Like some veggie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's sweet veggies. I'm tasting a little bit of sweetness on there. It's got some it's decently smooth.
Cooked carrots.
Oh, it does taste like carrots.
Carrots. I can actually see that, like the sweetness of a carrot.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I don't want to keep harping on beef stew here, but
It's just the
carrots.
whole stew there.
You're just,
And that's kind of like a classic wet hold Indonesia style. From Indonesian coffees I've had in the past, that one sounds not that surprising. Okay, we got to move on to coffee 3.
Right.
Last one. Go ahead.
Sir, go for it.
Yep, go ahead. You got it.
cat poop. I don't know. Honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell at all.
Has a little bit of an underdeveloped end to me. And also still has some dryness.
Pretty dry on the aftertaste as well. Yeah. I think there's some chocolates in here. It also kind of has a classic Indonesia, chocolatey, smooth.
Have you ever had the Tazo chocolate? It's a little bit gritty. That's kind of what it's reminding me of. It has a little bit of grittiness to it, but it's still kind of sweet and stuff.
I think it's the most earthy out of all of them.
Okay.
Whenever I hear earthiness in coffee, this is kind of most associated with that. Once again, that wet hold seems kind of on point.
I feel like you could tell me what I should be tasting, and I would taste it.
Well, one of them's cat poop. I could say, that one definitely tastes like cat poop. Oh my gosh, all right. And that's it. That was 3 minutes. We're done. Thankfully, none of them tasted like cat poop. Not that I know.
All right,
That
whatever.
tastes like.
Not that I know.
What you do in your off time, fellas, no business of mine.
So we'll vote for our favorites, and then reveal. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say 3, 2, 1 point. You point to your favorite. We'll see which one wins, and then reveal.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. 3, 2, 1 point. Coffee 2 is the winner.
Number 2.
Coffee 1 got a vote. Coffee 3 left behind. Let's find out what coffee 2 is. It's Sumatra. That's the Robusta one, right?
Interesting.
The one that we said is a species that's usually considered inferior in flavor was the one that got the most votes for the best flavor. I liked it. It was the sweetest to me.
Same.
It just had some fun flavors going on. I really liked 1 as well. It was fruitier for sure. So let's find out what 1 was. Kopi Luwak. So Michaela liked the cat poop coffee the most.
She won.
It's one of the most expensive cups of coffee in the world.
Wow.
So what did you like about it, Michaela?
I mean, it had some good diversity to it. It had some differences to the other ones. I mean, it had some sweetness. It also had some bitter dryness, almost kind of like of an Ethiopia, but more intense. And I don't know, it was good, well-rounded.
Could you tell which one was the Kopi?
No, honestly, I didn't even try for this one. Sometimes I try to guess, Nope.
Not
Not true.
Could you?
No.
Okay.
And from my experience and what I've heard with this Kopi Luwak coffee is that it will produce a lot of smoothness and very low acidity. That's what people like about it. There's apparently something about the digestive enzymes that lower acidity, which in specialty coffee, acidity is not a bad thing. It's actually a wanted thing. You just want to balance it with other stuff.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm actually surprised that that's Kopi Luwak because I thought it had a little bit of zinginess, some complexity, some fun things going on. I just think this one was sweeter and I enjoyed it more. Number 2, that is. So, well, that leaves number 3 is our Stumptown Sumatran. So no hate there, Stumptown.
Yeah.
But interesting how we voted. So awesome. All right. Well, there it is. That's us tasting the 3x3x3 coffees. Michaela, as always, thank you for joining. Justin, thank you for being on. How can people learn more about you and Paros Films?
Absolutely. You can go to our website, parosfilms.com. That's PAROS films.com. And if you're looking for a wedding videographer, hit us up.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely check them out. Amazing work. And of course, all of you who are listening, thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next time.